Parad here, founder of Relatable, and I need you, yes, you, to stop being so dramatic about your marriage. So let me explain. We are driven to extremes. When it comes to our marriage and when it comes to our husband, it's so easy for us to think these things. He never does what I ask him to do. He never listens. He never understands me. He never talks to me. Or it's so easy to think he's always so focused on himself. He's always so selfish. He's always so defensive. He's always blaming me for everything going wrong in this marriage. Or I can't remember the last time that he complimented me. I can't remember the last time that he did something nice for me. I can't remember the last time that he thought of me, right? I'm sure if any of what I've just said has entered into your mind, then you, my dear, are being so dramatic about your marriage, and it's got to stop. So the reason being this: when we are driven to these extremes of painting our husbands into this specific box, right, of things that he never does or things that he always does, or, the things that are missing in our relationship that have been missing forever, right, it magnifies all of what's going wrong. And soon, that's all you're able to see, right? So if you're telling yourself over and over again that he never pays attention to you, or that he always puts work or his hobbies or his other interests above you and the family, then that's all you're going to see. It's like you're literally creating this image and this vision in your mind of him that then puts him into this box that no matter what he's doing contrary to that, you just can't see it because you've literally been training your mind to be on this one track, right? This one track that my husband always does this, or my husband never does that. And so what I need you to do is to banish that, right? So whenever you find yourself getting into this nevers and always, I want you to recognize it for the drama that it is, right? And believe me, I love a little bit of drama just as much as the next girl, but it has no place in your marriage, right? You want your marriage to be a source of joy and contentment and peace. But if you are prone to being overly dramatic, magnifying the problems, then you'll never achieve that. And that's what you really want. So I want you to banish saying, my husband never, or my husband always, or I can't remember the last time he did X, Y, and Z. Okay? It's not productive. It's not helpful. It's not going to get you what you want, right? Because at the end of the day, what you want is you want your husband to be more loving, more kind, more thoughtful, more considerate, more attentive, listening more, communicating more, right? Those are the things you want. But if all along you've been telling yourself that he never does it, you're never going to get it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to open your mind to the possibility that the story you have been telling yourself is just not true. That you have been overly dramatizing things. You've been making it seem like the worst case scenario. And that's just not true. And the way that you do that is by opening yourself up to looking for evidence that it's not true. Because when you tell yourself he always does one particular thing, that's all you're going to see, right? You have this self-fulfilling prophecy where, well, that's the truth, right? He never pays attention to you. Then your mind is going to be looking to confirm that. Your mind is going to be looking for all the ways that he doesn't pay attention to you. And so once you realize that no one always does something all the time, or someone, the fact that you think they never do something, it's just a lie. It's a flat out lie. It's an untruth. And don't believe it. Don't be deceived into your own drama, right? Open yourself up to the fact that, well, it's not true, right? It's not true that he always does that, or it's not true that he never does that. And then I want you to start looking for evidence in the opposite direction. And so here's what I want you to do right now. We're going to practice this together. I want you to identify one of your biggest complaints about your husband, right? That thing that you tell yourself he never does, or that thing that you tell yourself he always does, that thing that gets under your skin and annoys you and aggravates you or makes you feel lonely and dismissed and unloved. Identify that complaint right now. What is it? What is it that when you're upset, when you're hurt, when you're frustrated, what is it that you tell yourself about your husband? Identify that complaint right now. You got it? I'm sure your mind is probably racing with like 1,000 because there's so many, right? There's so many things he's doing wrong. So identify just one for now. And what I want you to do is I want you to come up with 5 examples of where the opposite is true. Because we've already established you're being way too dramatic, right? We've already established that. And you know that it's not true. And so search your mind now for 5 examples where the opposite is true. And I know you're sitting here thinking, some of you, like, well, I can't even come up with those examples. And that's a problem, right? That's a problem that you've got your mind into this one little corner and that you're seeing him this one specific way. And that way is not true. You've dramatized it. You've deceived yourself to seeing him one particular way. And that's the source of your unhappiness. That's the source of your frustration. Because there's no possible way he can be a certain way all the time, 24/7. It's just not possible. But you have got to break the pattern that's going on in your mind. And the way to do that is to begin to look for evidence where the opposite is true. Go back in your mind, rewind time. Think of those times where the opposite is true, where he is not as selfish, where he's not as, oblivious to you, right? Because there have been those times. You just have chosen not to see them because you've learned to train yourself to think about him a certain way. And so that's the key, right? That's the key to getting more of what you're after in your marriage, more of what you want from him. So again, identify the complaint that you have, the biggest complaint that you have about your husband, and go to work looking for evidence that the opposite is true. That's how you stop being so dramatic, right? Or let's keep the drama, right? Let's keep the drama and put it in the other direction. Be so dramatic about proving yourself wrong, about seeing the good in him, because it's there if you want to find it, right? And so if you found this interesting, right? If you found it like, I am a little bit dramatic, or I'm a lot dramatic, right? And you know you need to stop it. You know that seeing your husband in a particular way is not helpful to you. It's not helpful to him. It's not helpful to your marriage. And you want to stop it. I would love to talk with you about additional strategies that I can teach you to help you do that, right? Because once you get into a certain pattern of thinking, it's so hard to change it. I know you know these things, right? You know that you shouldn't think the negative. You shouldn't think the worst. You shouldn't make the assumptions that you make, but you do it anyway because it's become a habit for you. It's become a way of being and thinking that you don't even know the first way to stop doing it, right? And so today I've just shared with you one way. That's to look for evidence of the opposite being true. And there are tons and tons of more things that you can do to build this habit, to make it like a muscle that actually works so that it becomes automatic, that you don't keep reacting the way you always do to the same situations, right? There's a way to get different results in your marriage. And it starts with your perception. It starts with your mindset and how you choose to see things, because that's what's leading you to speak to your husband in a certain way. That's what's leading you to interact with him in a certain way. That's what's leading you to respond to him in a certain way. And if you want different outcomes in your marriage, you've got to think, see, and do things differently. And that's what I help women to do. So if this is our first time meeting, hello, I am Dr. Siobhan Parad. I am a relationship expert and marriage coach, and I help women develop the mindset and skills to create happier and more loving marriages without having to make over the husband. because I believe the quickest route to your own personal happiness is by taking a good look in the mirror, by understanding what you're doing to contribute, how your thoughts and your perceptions and your attitude is creating the very things you don't want in your marriage. And so if this is something that you feel would be beneficial to you, if this is something you want to get some skills in, you want to learn a little bit more about, I encourage you to visit my website, check out all the work that I'm up to. I'm actually in the process right now of enrolling women into a group coaching program where we will get all the strategies and all the tools and all the secrets to getting those things we want out of our husbands and in our marriage by transforming our minds, by transforming our thoughts, our thinking, our attitude, our behaviors, because that's what's leading to the results you're seeing that are making you unhappy. So there is a link associated with this live stream. I encourage you to check it out. I would love to connect with you. I would love to talk all about the work that I do and how I can help you stop being so dramatic and start living in the reality and creating the reality that you actually want in your marriage, because it's possible. I'd love to talk with you, and I hope to do so very soon, so make sure you connect with me.